we are going to be doing this today. Hello. The How to Sound Like XY series is back and better than ever. Today, you're going to be learning how to make music like Samplifire. But before we do that, I want to remind you all that this project file, stems, and presets are downloadable on my Patreon. So if you want to grab any of those, feel free to subscribe. Before we jump into today's video, I want to quickly update you on a couple of things. Patreon and mentoring is changing a little bit, just a tiny bit, don't worry. If you think about it, I'm giving away 4 to 5, sometimes 7 or 8 project files per month. That's a little bit too much, and I definitely want to keep quality over quantity, even though these project files were made long before the videos are made. You know, I don't want to dilute Patreon too much, so I still want to keep the project files value, and I think that's fair for everyone. So with that said, I'm introducing a new tier just for project files. So there's going to be the 10 USD tier that you guys are familiar with, and the new tier is going to cost $20 a month, but it's going to come with the project files. It's going to still come with everything in the $10 tier, so it's basically the exact same that you have now, except if you want to still keep the project files, you're going to have to upgrade. Don't worry, this video's project file is still there for the $10 tier as well. Due to the unprecedented inflation in Hungary, our economy is one of the worst in the whole entire world. Unfortunately, I have no choice but to raise the lesson prices from $55 to $70. Keep in mind, I didn't change prices for 4 years, so it's due anyways, but I think $70 is a healthy sweet spot for everyone. And there's a catch as well. Every subscriber of my Patreon who is still actively subscribed is going to be able to purchase lessons or mentoring or whatever you want to call it for the base 55 USD. So patrons can still buy lessons for 55 USD. Anybody else who is not subscribed is going to get the lesson for 70 bucks. Going back to the project files, I also wanted to mention that I feel like projects is not the primary reason people subscribe. Most subscribers are usually interested in presets, how-to videos, maybe sound design materials like samples and stuff like that. There's a lot of negatives to uploading projects as well, because there's a lot of plugin issues. So for example, if I have Frigid Silence project that I just recently published, some people don't have third-party plugins that I do. They don't have the same version of Ableton that I do. Even if they have a newer version of Ableton, it might not work 100% all the time. So yeah, if you want to get the project files, just subscribe to the new tier. If you're into that, or if you learn best from that, that's the best one for you. Don't worry though too much, because in the $10 tier, there's still a bunch of monthly presets, song feedback videos, sample packs, and on top of that, racks, presets, and stems from the YouTube videos. So I'm just going to give you an example. If I upload a video on Friday, in the $10 Patreon tier, you're going to be able to download the presets, some of the racks, and the stems for the entire project. But if you have the $20 tier, you're going to be able to download the project file as well. But with that said, let's hop into Ableton and let's see what this Samplifire project is all about. Let's jump right into the meat of it all, the sound design, because that's what people are most interested in. Samplifire recently makes a lot of Square 4 stuff, obviously. Square 4 is meta right now, so why not? I made it simple for you because I grabbed the wavetable from Maelstrom, so you don't have to have the Reason rack. You can just use Serum with the wavetable or Vital with the wavetable, as easy as that. So if we jump in, I'm going to show you the main synth that starts the call and response. So this is going to be the call, the sustained one. Yes, sir. In a lot of these, I use the Nosphere rack, which you can see down here. It's a free effect rack that I usually use. It contains a general processing of mine that I use mostly on my production. It's just consolidated into one effect rack. It's free. It's up on nospheremusic.com if you want to check it out. Let's jump in. This is how it sounds without any effects. Nosphere rack, a rhythm reverb rack, which is basically just a filtered reverb. And then I'm going to use G-Clip to boost the volume. It's only 2.4 dB, so it's not that crazy, but it is something, and it's distorted with a little bit of softness on the clipping. That's it. Nothing too complicated. It's the bass square 4 wavetable with a sub, no effects. Super simple, super straightforward. Now let's check out the main bass. You're going to be disappointed because there's no actual trick to it. It's just the same thing with LFO movement. I have 2 active LFOs in here. One controls the wavetable position and the other controls the volume of the sub and the volume of the wavetable. No effects apart from a tonal delay that I used to get a little bit of a stereo sound, but that's not a huge trick. If you think about it, it's just a cheap stereoizing technique. It's just stereo noise. This is the noise part of it. But if you just add it in like 10% dry wet, it sounds really cool. To saturate the mids, I usually distort a saturator inside the Nosphere rack or a clipper afterwards. And then after all that, I cut the lows and just replace it with a sub bass. With Samplifier's production, it's really important to keep in mind that he uses square 4, but he uses a ton of other synths as well. So for example, with this is just a really basic iteration of what he could have done in his projects. I just wanted to keep it simple. So for the backup synths and the background synths, I just used the same preset, the same channel, the same everything, except I changed the delay to a hyper dimension, which is controlled with the volume LFO. So every time the sound is louder, it gets more stereo. This is how it sounds without any effects. Chorus, to make it a little more stereo and chaotic, then a pedal distortion, then a denoiser rack, then rhythm reverb, a clipper, and an EQ to kind of carve out the frequencies that are conflicting the main sound. Then a nasty loud sub bass. The key to most of Samplifier's stuff, and this was present in the whole video as well, they use a lot of pitch bend in their subs. So if you use a sub that pitches down over time in a quarter note fashion, you can definitely get that energetic track that you're going for. For the second part, I mainly do the same things, except I put an OTT before Nosphere. This synth without any effects. The key to achieving this sound is nothing mind-blowing. Again, it's the exact same synth with the exact same wavetable. It's just tweaked a little bit with the LFO. So it's playing a different part of the sound, but it's the same thing overall, except the OTT. I'm obviously automating a bunch of different things, so it's moving and it's not boring, but overall it's mostly the same thing. The background synth is a little different, so it can more easily fit with the new sound. And our variation synth, super similar as well. I added a little bit of an FMing going on, so FM from B and a Combs filter just to keep it simple. Sounds like this. And the last trick we have is for the whole group. So instead of using saturator on the whole group thing, I just ended up distorting the whole master altogether. So instead of, I usually put a saturator soft sign 60% on my drop group just to glue the sub together with the mids. But this square 4 wavetable contains a lot of low end information, a lot of low mids. So it usually conflicts with the second harmonic of the sub bass. So to avoid that, I used aggressive EQing. I avoided the distortion on the drop group altogether and just used a softer clipping method on the master. So instead of using 100% hard clipping, I just use a soft clipper. That's all you need to know. I included spectral dynamics from Melda and a fuse compressor here as well, because if you want something that is more controlled and more compressed, you can do this. It's pretty easy to do. I just use either the dark pump or the classic OTT preset on 10%. And then for spectral dynamics, I just dialed in something that fit the track more. These are going to pull back the volume with a little bit of spectral compression and regular compression so that it distorts less on the clipper. It sounds like this with them enabled. Drums tones are much more pronounced this way. If you like that type of sound, you can do that. So this project file is downloadable on Patreon. If you liked it, like, comment, share, subscribe. Gatorade, Mountain Dew, Jack Daniels. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to check out my website for a lot of high quality Serum and Vital presets and drum samples. You can also support me on Patreon, where I upload bass music specific tutorial content every single month. Peace.